Everybody. For those of you who haven't met me or don't know me, my name is Klasie Wessels from Street School. And I use logotherapy, which is the work of Viktor Frankl, in the work that I do as a coach and as a facilitator and so on. I work with a partner of mine called Samantha Sparks, and together we host these workshops and sessions for people, private people, business people. Um, I've lectured at UNISA, so some of the content that I'm sharing with you comes out of those programs. Um, at the moment, I'm running a program for a group of corporate executives, and there was something that we covered the other day that I thought may be interesting. Now, logotherapy is a big body of work, and to unpack it all in one session is not possible. So I thought maybe I'll just share little bits and pieces because it's really interesting. I mean, if any of you, I mean, this is not relevant to anybody, to everybody, but if you're interested to pay attention to internal growth and internal control, then this section may be useful for you. When it comes to us as humans and how we put together and how we work, some of the stuff is not it's not difficult, but it can get complicated, because if it was that simple, go and buy a book at Exclusives and read it and you will be fine. But we all know some of those quick fix things, they don't stick. And so for me, what is useful about the philosophy of logotherapy is that it is really practical, but it also explains how we work, so that to become truly self-curative, to be able to change yourself. It helps if you know how you work and how things are put together. It makes it a lot easier. So two of the things I thought I'll share with you today, and it comes out of this executive program we're busy with at the moment. It's called internal growth and internal control. So I'm just going to unpack that in a little detail. So Frankl, he uses the word self-transcendence, and he would say that for us as humans to transcend ourselves and become better than we are from where we are, that is the essence of who we are. That is actually our spiritual quest, is to, like the Japanese will talk about kaizen, continuous improvement. So in terms of self-transcendence and internal growth, there is a unique human ability, which we all have, which is to self-detach. We can step away. We can actually refocus. So in order for us to improve internally, we're going to, at some point, we need to detach and de-reflect from where we stand and from where we are. Because unless we do that, we cannot take an objective, realistic, critical perception of who we are. We get so wrapped up. Frankl uses the words, he refers to it as hyper-intention and hyper-reflection. Where hyper-reflection, you are so focused on what you do, and you are so paying attention to everything with such tension that it is stifling the life out of it. I mean, think of a tennis player. There's no way a tennis player can hit a shot consistently if they are hyper reflecting on how to hold the racket, how to set up to the ball. Somewhere they need to relax and to get into the flow. So sometimes we try so hard, and then that's the other extreme, is hyper intention. We try so hard that between hyper reflecting on something and hyper intensive on something, we get stifled, and we cannot get, we won't be able to make progress. So the process of detaching a little bit from oneself and de-reflecting on something else will allow us to get into the space of self-transcendency. Because it's only then that we will become, or we can become, self-determined, and not just be a victim and just roll with the punches as it comes, and whatever comes your way, you just accept it, and you just go through the motions, and life is happening to you, but you never actually feel that you are in control. So in order, this it puts us in a space where we can actually reflect on the call of life, and what am I here for, and what am I doing, and where am I going? And now we can reorientate us towards something that is useful for us or for you, meaningful, that is significant, whether it's relationships or family or community or whatever it is. Now you can start paying attention, because now you get out of yourself, you get out of your own head. Only then can you actually transcend. And with that now comes attitude modulation towards the possibilities that exist for you, your own, your personal uniqueness and so forth. Then you can actually transcend. So just touching on the first concept. The second one, in order to manifest internal control, Frankl logotherapy uses the word self-distancing. So again, we can actually distance ourselves, almost like get out of the car and watch from a distance where we are. Now, in terms of how we made up, we have a body, obviously, and we have a mind, yes, obviously, and we have consciousness. Some of the Eastern traditions, suggest there are more dimensions to what makes us human. Logotherapy suggests we look at three in our, even a religion, body, mind, and soul, or spirit, or whatever you want to call it. There are three sort of domains, three dimensions. And self-control, internal control, deals with the two by way of consciousness and mind. So what is important to understand here is that we are not our symptoms. We all have anxiety. We all have fear somewhere. We all get nervous somewhere. We all have these emotions, but we are not those emotions. And the mistake that we make is that we identify ourselves with these emotions so strongly that we think it's one. So if I were to say, I am nervous, I'm talking to you live, so I'm nervous. Yes, I have these sensations that I can feel in my body maybe, and I can see running through my mind. I'm nervous, but I am different from the nervousness itself. The nervousness is something I have. It is not something I am. So it's important for us to understand the difference, because if we get the difference, we are a damn sight better in controlling it. Otherwise, we've got no hope in hell to actually control our emotions. And anybody who think, if they, the other day I actually heard somebody say that you're not able to control your emotions. It's such a reductionistic view. Anyway, so through this self-distancing, we can become conscious of the unconscious. Now, the moment we become conscious of the unconscious, we are able to tap into the defiant power of the human spirit. Any of you, I've said it before in some of these sessions, any of us have got the ability to walk through a brick wall for what we believe in. Nietzsche quoted it as why. If you know what your why is, you will stand up defiantly against all odds. But you are not going to do that if you are reactively not able to control your internal world. So so in terms of internal control, there's two dimensions. There's this acknowledging the consciousness and getting in touch with that inner. Frankl, he uses these words. There's a thing. Let me just get it. It's so complicated. He says we have a pre-reflective ontological self-understanding. Listen to this. We have a pre-reflective ontological self-understanding. So that means wisdom of the heart. Beautiful. He was such a great scholar, but some of his stuff is really, it gets me a while to get through it. So we have a wisdom of the heart. We know what is good for us, but we're not going to get there if all the thoughts running through our mind is in the way. So once we are in a process of better control, now we can truly do attitude modulation, and we can start questioning our self-limiting beliefs. You cannot change a belief system by reading a book and ticking a box and telling yourself you've done it. It's not going to work. You're going to have to approach it from a much, much, much deeper place. And once we are in this space of self-distancing and internal control, we can find humor. We all need to laugh. And there is something very, very mature about laughter. I'm not talking about laughing at the expense of somebody else and a silly joke. There's a different kind of humor, almost where you laugh at your own expense maybe, or you can look at your own situation, actually see sometimes how silly something is, and have a smile and have a laugh, because like Frankl or Logotherapy will tell us, we can, laughter takes the anxiety, the winds out of the cells of anxiety. So you cannot be anxious of a spider if you can laugh, if you can truly laugh at it. So anyway, I just thought I'm going to share these two thoughts with you. I hope it's useful. Have a great day. Thank you.